So we're back again above Jerome, Arizona. We spent the day with these two gentlemen trying to teach us about rope rescue. Now I've been, I guess, 10 years of doing that myself. I've had opportunities to get trained, to get from there to lead teams. I've led multiple different multi-agency rescues, have multiple rescues underneath my belt, and then retired from it recently. But it's an opportunity for me and the other guys that you get to see on the show get a lot of information about how to take care of others that come with us. I want to be sure that those who venture out with us into the wilderness not only are having a good time, but if something goes wrong, I want everybody to be able to take care of it. So thanks guys for coming. Of course we got Floyd Carnes with us, Officer Kerry Lee, Chief Alan Muma, and of the I guess basically it's the Jerome Police Department, right? Give me a breakdown on everything you guys do.
Well, 21 years ago, I was hired as the police chief here in Jerome. So, honestly, at that time, I was quite successful. I'd been a police chief in Michigan for some time and started chasing money. In doing so, I was lured away from law enforcement. I went into construction management for a large company. I was a project manager, earth and underground heavy estimator. Back 20 plus years ago, it was a $100,000 a year job. So it came off of what I was, doubled my salary. My wife was a nurse manager, so we were making good money. I started missing that line of work. So on top of doing that, I decided to go part-time as a deputy sheriff in Clare County because I miss law enforcement. You don't understand, law enforcement for me is a calling. It's not a job. It was something that I guess I was born to do. And so I got back into it part-time in Clare County and, worked my ass off. I can remember driving home sometimes at 4 a.m. after doing an afternoon shift, after working all day construction, then getting home, putting my uniform on, going and doing PA 416, was a secondary road patrol, busting my ass on there, pulling a few drunks in, taking off from Clare, which was 59 miles away from where I lived, driving back home and trying not to fall asleep, then to get back up for work the next day. Because oftentimes I would do 2 shifts in the county and then I would do my regular work week. Well, we found Jerome by kind of happen chance. I received an award for a traffic safety program I had in Michigan and got to come out to I think it was the 1996 Arizona Chiefs Conference. Brought my wife. We said, let's get out of Phoenix. They paid for everything. Let's go on a road trip. We want to see Sedona. So we drove up the mountain, the backside, up Mingus, came down the other side. I came upon Jerome, saw the sign for Jerome, looked down, saw this town sprawled out over the side and said, I'm going to retire there. Okay? So we stopped in there. We were heading Sedona.
How many years ago was that?
That was 24 years ago. So we went to Sedona. Sedona's beautiful, the canyons and stuff like that, but Sedona itself was just...
It ain't freaking Jerome.
Right, it ain't Jerome.
Yeah.
So we ended up back there, and we started vacation. For a couple years, we started going out there on our vacation time. Like I say, I was doing construction. I was doing everything I was doing. We had a big custom-built house that I just finished up, and Jerome came to me and said, hey, we're looking for a police chief. And I said, I don't do that anymore. And went back to Michigan. We talked over with my wife, and I'm like, I'm not happy. I had a 32-foot Chris Craft in my driveway. I had my Corvette, which that summer never got drove. I had a Harley that I kept in my family room downstairs inside my house. I think I used it 3 times that last year. Didn't use the boat once. And I'm like, something's got to change here. I got to start chasing something different rather than I have money. And all I found out was I had more money in the bank. I spent more money on meals, and so Jerome had this, they wanted a police chief, so I applied. So it's kind of an interesting story, because when I applied, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. They called me. I said, you know, I'm not going to come out there. I think I'm just going to skip it. They're like, no. We'll tell you what. We're going to let you videotape your interview. So they sent me a VHS tape. I had a camcorder. I set it up. I was wearing Bermuda shorts. It was summertime. I put a suit on from the waist up, and I filmed myself answering their questions, and I sent it in. Said, what'll happen will happen. And I don't know, it was a week later, I get a phone call from the town of Jerome. They're like, you were one of the top 3 picked. I said, okay. And they said, well, we want you to come out for a personal interview. So I talked to my wife. I'm like, what do you think? She goes, I don't know. And I called them back up and I said, you know what? I just don't think it's going to work. I said, you know, I have too many things going on. Waited a couple days in here. I thought it was done. Get another phone call. Hey, what we decided is we're going to pay for the top 3 to come out. So we're going to pay for your airline ticket, pay you to stay here, okay, pay for your meals, and we'll do it on the weekend. I'm like, damn. If nothing else, I get another trip to Jerome, right?
Yeah,
you know, for the weekend. So, lo and behold, I fly out, I interview. There was a DPS, the mayor, a DPS guy, I think a Clarkdale officer, a couple, 3 other people. We get done on Sunday, they come to me and they say, we want to offer you the job. I'm like, wow, I don't know. So I called the wife up. I said, what do you think? She says, you know, I'm done. She says, we're tired of chasing money. Let's chase what we want to do. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll take the job, but you have to let me. I had to finish my construction contract. I was building a prison in Michigan, Camp Pugsley. So my share of the work was about $3 million at the time. So for 2, 3, all the way till November, I would stay here for 2 weeks in Jerome. I would fly back to Manton, stay there for 2 weeks, oversee the construction of the prison, fly back here for 2 weeks, and I kept going back and forth while I was trying to get my certification changed to Arizona. And finally, I had to tell my boss with the construction company, I said, I'm done. I can't do this. Pulled a pin. Now, mind you, I went from a $100,000 a year job to Jerome paid me my first year $25,000. And I had a big custom-built home that I didn't want to rent out because I know how renters are. I've had rental property, and I was like, ugh. And but I decided to, you know, move forward. We rented to some military people. I finally moved my wife back out here. She quit. She was able to get a job at the hospital at a pretty decent rate, but it wasn't what she was making. So I still had a house payment and all that. So we struggled, but I was where I wanted to be, and things started falling in line. And then literally 1 year after I got here, I was approached by another individual who I knew to take a contractor's mission abroad. At the time, it was East Timor. It was the highest paid mission that was out there. Okay, it was a UN mission, working for the State Department. So I did it. Did the mission. A lot of crap went on there, but I made about $100,000 in 6 months, and was able to buy an inn. My wife wanted to quit nursing. She was so tired of nursing. She couldn't do what she wanted to help people. It became you do what you're told by administration, and she's got a heart, and so I came back. We pooled our money and we bought that inn. She started running it. And that time I was still the chief. It was a challenge in our town because I terminated everybody but one officer because Jerome hired nitwits. They couldn't pay very good, and time went on. I filtered through some people, got some good quality retirees, got us on the public safety retirement system. I was able to get better people again, got the wages up, started hiring better people. The police department started becoming known as being a fair and honest department. When I first took it over, it was known for the giant drug raid of 1988, I believe, in which half the town council was busted for pot. And the chief of police at that time was charged with witness intimidation. And so it took a long time to get that, suppress that out in the public, you know what I mean, and out in the professional career field. So kept plugging along, and next thing I know, fire comes along, and I'm out on calls, and there's no medical there. And I used to do medical on Beaver Island as a deputy. I did medical. I ran the Marine Patrol, did helicopter rescues, did medical, started a medical unit out there. I thought, well, I'll get back into it, even though I didn't want to. And so, lo and behold, I started giving to the community, got my EMT back, and started running calls, and then we expanded from there. Rusty had got a hold of me prior to that, and he says, I need somebody for the technical rope rescue. And I was like, well, I did tactical rappelling and all that crap, so I thought, well, I'll do it. Well, I don't do anything 100%. I said, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be 120%, and I get the reins. And that was, what, 10 years ago probably that I started it.
About the time I met you.
Yeah, and now we're one of probably the best rope teams in the state. Sedona's got a phenomenal team, they really do. They're a little cliquish.
We're probably better equipped.
Yeah, we're probably better equipped than they are. They've got more manpower because they're paid. You know, our organization's a volunteer organization. I volunteer for everything I do in the fire department. I'm the volunteer assistant chief. I'm a volunteer EMT. I'm a volunteer technical rope person. I teach, and almost all of the money that I make off of teaching goes back to the fire department. I don't need the money. I give it to them so that we can buy better equipment.
That's why we're best equipped.
Yeah.
Because everybody else that comes to our classes.
And we want to come to your classes, and we want to contribute, and we become better equipped as a result of the classes you put on. So I appreciate you guys being willing to open that up. How about you, Kerry? I know you spent time in the military.
Yeah, my story isn't quite as glamorous as the Chief's there, I don't think. 1986, out of high school, Marine recruiter showed up one day. I said, I want to carry a machine gun, and I want to jump out of airplanes and go to combat. He goes, I got a perfect job for you. He didn't really lie to me, but the Marine Corps doesn't really have jump units, so I never made it to jump school, but he gave me everything else. Ended up going first Gulf War. My battalion commander at that time was our former defense General Mattis. Finest man I ever met in my life. I'm pretty sure he was quite the man. So the Gulf War was the Gulf War. We were over there a long time. It was really hot and miserable. After that, spent some time in Somalia. We landed there about 7 days after the Black Hawk Down deal. We spent another 10 or 12 months combat there. After the Marine Corps, I love the Marine Corps. I swore to God I was going to be a Marine for the rest of my life. I was 8 years, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines. I was Chief Scout Sniper at the time. Greatest job I think I ever had in my life. I mean, it doesn't get better than a sergeant in the Marine Corps. And if you're a Scout Sniper on top of that, it's about the pinnacle of everything. Yeah. I was loving it. And then when it come time to re-enlist, some guy with too many stripes on his shoulders said it was, I think his exact words were, it's mentally unstable for anybody to be doing what you've been doing for as long as you've been doing it. So they were forcing me out of the infantry at that time. I had to take a B-billet somewhere. And I almost went to Corpus Christi, Texas, to an I&I station. But the whole thing just irritated me, and I pretty much said, to hell with you, I'm out. And,
amazing how that works. You can have something that you really love, but the approach somebody takes to it completely kills it.
Yeah.
Kills the drive that you have.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, you know, that was right out of Somalia, and I was talking about General Mattis. He was my battalion commander during the first Gulf War, and he was one of the finest commanders I ever served under. Now, the battalion commander I had when I went to Somalia was probably the exact opposite. So there was a little bit of rough edges out of Somalia for that aspect.
Well, you had a standard that was set by somebody.
Right.
So you put people in a certain role at a certain level, and then you get somebody else.
Right.
Because that's one thing I've noticed, even in the rescue world, whatever. It's like I held people to a certain standard, and when they didn't live up to it, it frustrated the hell out of me. I lost a lot of respect.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we were. So anyway, in late 1993, it was time to re-enlist, and pretty much said, no, I'm out. And I think I was approached at that time. I think DEA was recruiting teams for, shall we say, Central American work. And I actually turned them down. Figured if I'm going to be a sniper, I'm going to be a sniper in the Marine Corps. And being as I'm not in the Marine Corps anymore, I'm going home. So I came back to Cottonwood, and the next 15, 18 years, I was an automotive mechanic. Raised a family. I mean, I wasn't making a huge amount of money, but I was getting by. My family, my kids, they grew up happy. They're all good, doing well now, so that's fine. They were all grown up, and I don't know, I can't say what really turned the button for me to turn to law enforcement. I had applied to Sedona. Apparently I was too old for Sedona. They didn't want me. And that time I was in Jerome, and that's when I met Chief Muma here. I joined the fire department and started in with the rope rescue team, and that's when I met Chief. And he gave me the opportunity to go to the police academy at 47 years old, and been working for him ever since. I can't imagine a better chief. I'd be worried when he leaves that it'd be the same thing. It'd be hard to match what Chief here does. He's an impressive fella. But I enjoy what I do now. I can't say it enough. I think I'm pretty dedicated to it. It's not any particular calling that I have, but it's a I guess when you raise that hand and you make that you swear your oath, it's a duty that you're responsible to after that, and I think that's pretty much what drives me.
Yeah, and I know that the job you guys have, quite honestly, in my opinion, is I could never do it, just because how do you shut off? Being the meanest son of a bitch in the world, you have to be in the moment, but at the
we
same
we lift a lot of weights, so people get scared of us sometimes.
a lot of weights and tight shirts, right?
Right.
So you got to be the meanest bastard you can be in the moment, but at the same time also the kindest person possible at the same time. How the hell do you pull that off without having some sort of...
Well, I think ultimately you have to have that compassion in you as the base before you get to the mean badass. It has to be there first, I think.
I agree. I truly think, like with me as a calling, and I care about helping people. You know, the bottom line is I do what I do to help other people. You know, sure, I mean, I've been an adrenaline junkie for a long time, and, you know, from combat to jumping out of airplanes to, I mean, I did sport bikes when I was young and motocross and, you know, anything to get that thing stirred. But underneath, I truly care about people, okay? Even the ones that are assholes, all right? You know, I mean, they can't help it necessarily.
And some of them can.
Well, some of them can, yeah, but if you care about people first, you know, and then I think you got to have something else in you. I don't know what you call that. You have to be capable of violence. Okay, call it righteous violence. Some people say, well, violence is horrible and violence is violent. I say no. If I don't have the ability to counter a violent attacker, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I think basically you have to have the warrior spirit.
Yes.
In order to do anything. So you have to be able to step back and feel sorry for somebody's situation, but still be willing to do what you have to do in the long run.
Yeah, and I think the difficulty that I feel that it would be is shutting it off. How is it you don't paint the whole planet with, I'm just going to go crack skulls?
Well, because you guys...
It's getting harder and harder. As you get older, it was easy to bury.
I'll admit, over the last few weeks with all this stuff that's going on, it's hard not to get irritated when you listen to just the utter nonsense that comes across with social media and everything, and then have to go out and make a traffic stop and somebody's just the biggest jerk in the world, and I have to admit that I'm gonna say my temper gets out of hand, but I'm a lot less willing to accept the kind of silliness that comes out of some people's mouths.
But oftentimes, like a couple days ago, I had a phone call. Pick up the phone. Usually I have somebody else answer, but they were busy. Picked up the phone. This kid starts telling me on the other end of the line, you know, yeah, I got a copy of your video, and he's going on about this traffic stop, and he was riding a motorcycle, and he got stopped, and he got a ticket, and how the officer, how we edit our video. He says, I got the copy, and I know the video's edited, and well, how do you do? I said, we don't edit our video. I said, what you got is all the video that we've produced. And he's like, no, it's edited. And I said, look, and I'm the chief of police here. I'm telling you, I don't edit anything. If you ask for the video, you got every bit of video we had. goes, he says, you're the guy that stopped me. You don't remember that? I said, I don't remember that. And he went on about this stop, and I'm like, I've stopped a lot of people through the years. He didn't tell me if it was last week or last year or anything like that. So he's rambling on about me using the F word on him, and tell him I was going to effing arrest him. And I'm like, I said, I don't remember. I said, I think you're wrong. Finally got to a point where he was just arguing, and I disconnected the line. So I got enough information so I could look him up. So I found his name, pull up the video that we took. Lo and behold, it wasn't me. It was Officer Lee. We get mixed up sometimes. I have to, quite a lot. And so I watched the whole video. And it was some reckless motorcycles on the mountain, passing in the duck, no passing, multiple cars.
Yeah, so you've all seen this
criminal
mountain
speed.
up here.
Oh yeah.
75, 80 miles an hour on these motorcycles.
Wow.
So it's got him when he activates his lights and he's after him, so I can hear him from that point all the way through the end of the stop. Okay, do you suppose I heard an F-bomb dropped?
I'm guessing not.
No, not a one. He was frustrated when he got out. He said, look it, he says, you're driving, you could go to jail. That's reckless driving, it's criminal misdemeanor, you could go to jail. The subject admitted everything he'd done. He admitted to passing in no passing zone, multiple cars. He admitted to speeding. So I thought, you know what? I just watched all of this on video, so I made a phone call back to him. So I call him up and I said, hey, I said, I just want you to know, I said, I just got done watching the video. He said, yeah. I said, so you're telling me it was me that stopped you? Yep. I said, how sure are you of that? 150% sure. I said, well, how about you find that ticket? I said, do you have it? He said, yep. So he goes and gets the ticket, comes back to the phone. And I said, look on the bottom of that ticket. I said, what does it say? He says, 819. Well, that's his number. And then he says, Lee. I said, that's Officer Lee. I said, on June 6th, I said, I was in the state of Michigan. I said, so I find it hard to believe, I said, that you have a good recollection of the facts as they occurred there. I said, when you're 150% sure that it was me that stopped you, and I wasn't even in this state. And he started hemming and hawing, and he said he had talked about having a GoPro camera on. I said, you know what, at this point, I said, if you've got GoPro, send me the video. I said, I'll look at it, because I'm telling you, there was not an F-bomb dropped. And I heard from start to finish, and there's no editing of that film. And it was interesting, because he then backed off, because he told me he didn't really have his GoPro, wasn't running. Of course, initially he said, well, if it was running, I'd have the F-bombs. I said, you know what? I said, you mistook this whole contact. I said, you were nervous. I said, you assumed he swore at you. I said, for whatever bias you have against police. I said, you were never sworn at. There was not a swear word in that. You know what I mean? And the only threat was, hey, you're reckless driving. You can go to jail for reckless driving. I could take you to jail for reckless driving. And we've done it before, because we pick up freaking broken bodies on that mountain road constantly from these guys. So I just found it interesting. He was so adamant about the fact that I stopped him, and he was so adamant about the fact that I used the F-bomb more than once, you know what I mean, in this contact, and none of that was true. So think about that when you go back and you think about these people that talk about police, you know what I mean? It's oftentimes an implicit bias on their part because they don't like police, okay, that cause them to believe, in this guy's case, that we were swearing at him.
What really frustrates me of that story is you could have taken his ass to jail.
I could have.
And you didn't.
I think when I got out of the car,
you ungrateful little bastard circles back around. If you're paying attention, you little prick, then I'm talking to you. And you make a call, and you stir up crap. See, every bit of what's going on is frustrating hell of me. Now, it doesn't change the fact that the guy in Minnesota, hell yeah, the mess that was created from that. Now, whether or not it would have created this fire across the country that it has because of the media getting a hold of how it happened, there's a lot of unnecessary there. But at the same time, somebody needs to nail people like that. I don't disagree with what's going on.
When you talk about that, you could just say that maybe the police were right when they started, but they were certainly wrong when they ended.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
Getting it going, what you had to do to begin with, but the continuance. There's a fine line that you have to be able to find and identify and change tactics.
Yes,
period.
absolutely.
Period. So, but that right there, when it comes to the police, I keep trying to tell everybody I know, listen, you're painting in a large group of people with something completely wrong. You know, and unfortunately, you guys have to deal with it.
And not only that, but you see the protests that started all the way on that side of the country and moves all the way out here. And I guarantee you, law enforcement on this side of the country is different than law enforcement on that side of the country.
Oh yeah, it doesn't seem, there's a handful in every state, but it's not everybody.
Bad people all around. Yeah,
you're right. It doesn't matter what the profession is, you know, in clergy, and you know, there's bad folks in the military. You know what I mean? And we look up to our military, and there's bad folks in the military. There's
even
bad
my
folks
industry. I do finance, and what makes my industry awesome for me is most of them suck. You know, when it comes to humans, they're the apex predator, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
There's only one other type of prey for humans, or humans are prey to only one other thing. That's the humans.
Yes.
And so my industry is full of predators. That's what sucks about my industry, but also is what's great about my industry, because I do so much business because there's a lot of predators and assholes in it. It's the same thing with you guys, and I just find that your particular job would be intensely difficult for somebody like me.
I find it interesting that so many people in this country can listen to the rhetoric that goes on now, which is being spoken mostly from, shall we say, undesirable people, or people that's had contact with police in less than good situations or conditions. But the whole country listens to what they have to say, to the point where they've demonized the police and they talk about shutting the police down. And that's probably going to be all well and good until they start taking orders from their local neighborhood drug dealers, because they're the only ones in charge.
Exactly.
So.
When they start killing each other, and they don't
Right.
call somebody who isn't there.
Well,
So
then it falls on law-abiding citizens to protect themselves, and then you've got anarchy.
Well, I think what it really takes is law-abiding citizens to put that voice out there just as strongly as those law-abiding citizens are doing.
And that's what we're trying to do here. You know, just make sure that people know, you know, what, and, you know, at least our perspective on it, and then a step further. You know, as we're working today on the rope stock, training people, I did happen to notice the tattoo on your hand, and that was one of the most interesting things. I had to get a few different angles to read the whole damn thing, because at the time you were talking like an Italian from New York. I mean, the hands are everywhere. So give me a little bit of rundown of what it is and why.
Well, some time ago, I mean, I consider myself successful. I've pretty much accomplished most. There's very little I would change in my life. I consider myself successful, financially independent. I could leave my profession now and get by. I do it because I enjoy the work. I enjoy helping people. But oftentimes I hear those people whine because, you know, I have toys and a number of houses and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, you know, I've heard everything from, because I volunteer with the Historical Society, and we're a pretty well-to-do historical society. We own probably 20% of the town of Jerome. We rent to businesses. We give them low rent so they can run there and have their business and be successful. And I do that for nothing. I volunteer. But somehow those kind of things seem to afford people this opportunity to say somehow I got money from them, or they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When in reality, it's the fact that I don't drink. I haven't spent a dime on alcohol in probably 10 years. Not against it. I just got better things to do with my money. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Okay? So I save my money, and I am frugal with it, and I pay off things, and I don't have high interest rate credit cards. And so guess what? I can buy those things that I want. Okay? So I have those toys I want. I'm getting up there. I'm going to have those things I want to have so I can do what I want to do, because you never know when the next day is the last day.
Yeah.
And so all of that is, and so it finally came about this one day, and I saw this tattoo on it was a saying. It wasn't a tattoo, it was a saying. And I saw another hand tattoo. It said I'd never get a hand tattoo. And it was, I don't know if it was just, I had to burn my ass. I was tired of people kind of talking behind about things, and I thought, the hell with it. I'm at this point where I honestly don't care. If you judge me because I got a hand tattoo on, see you later. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I went up, wrote it out, showed them what I wanted, said put it on the back of my hand. And basically it says, success is never owned, it's rented. And the rent's due every day. And anybody that's successful Okay, other than somebody that's born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and that's not a successful person. That's somebody that was born into that and just got money. And those people tend to not be, not all of them, there's exceptions. So most everything I say is there's an exception to. But most of those people, it's not the effort they put forth that got them there. You know what I mean? It was daddy's money or grandpa's money. You know,
It doesn't feel as good when you don't put the effort in.
no, that's what I think. What I have and what I've done is because of me and because I worked hard and I made those investments of my time. You know what I mean? I worked 7 days or 14 days or 30 days straight, you know, and when I wasn't working at the PD, then I was working on a house, or I was working on a second house, you know what I mean? Or I was doing off-duty work, or I was doing contractor work, you know what I mean? Stuff that I can make 65, 70, 80 bucks an hour, and I'm not spending it, so I bank it. You know, I've got a Shelby GT350 Mustang. That Mustang was paid for 100% by secondary job work. You know, I wanted that car and I bought it and I paid for it, you know, all by working extra duty work.
Well, and you appreciate it a lot more.
Oh, I do. That car sits in my garage in Michigan now at my house there, and I love it. It's a bright red with ticket me white stripes on it. GT350, you know what I mean? It's an awesome car.
You got like 5 more horsepower because of those stripes, right?
No, probably.
I say to my team all the time, you know, when I get up, I got to shake my ass like I'm late on rent.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to get out, you got to move all the time. You know, if I get up after 4:30, something's physically wrong with me to get up later than 4:30 in the morning. I get up, I got stuff I've got to get done. And when I come to bed, I just come screeching to a halt, and I just fall asleep wherever I'm sitting sometimes. I'll wake up, pockets full, sleeping in a chair. If you ever fell asleep on a pocket knife and keys sideways on your side, it sucks.
I could tell you some stories of what I fall asleep on.
I can imagine what it was like over there overseas,
Yeah.
man.
When they start the engine, you better get up or they're going to run you over.
So that I 100% agree with. And when I saw that to me is the main thing we're trying to drive to everybody. Anybody who pays attention to this is you're never going to get it for free. It's never going to be given to you. And if you expect that to happen, expect to fall flat on your face. And when you fall on your face, you better get your ass back up.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You better get moving, because people tend to lay there when life kicks their ass and lick their wounds, and the whole thing passes them by.
Or give up, right? I mean, it's, at some point they go, oh, that didn't feel too good. I didn't, I tried. I really put everything forward, and that didn't work out. So I'm not gonna do that again.
And apparently you didn't put everything forth. You're still alive, some bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you didn't put everything forth.
Or
That's
they
what really
won't.
frustrates me.
They won't even try again. Remember, if you know anything about millionaires and you talk to a few of them, what do they tell you? Have they ever failed?
Oh yeah.
Most of them will tell you, yes, I failed, but I never gave up. You know, I had one of the most expensive gym memberships ever owned. I owned a gym for about 2.5 years, a full big gym. Okay, competitive power lifters. I did bodybuilders, and it was the most expensive. I call it my most expensive health club membership I ever had, because of my competition, not licensing and doing underhanded and dirty dealing, declaring bankruptcy multiple times. I just couldn't make ends meet. I finally sold it, took a big $50,000 loss, and moved on with life. But I didn't say, hey, I'm not doing another business. You know what I mean? When we decided to buy her in, huh?
Just wasn't gyms, right?
Right, it just wasn't gyms. I'll tell you what, I would never do a gym unless I was in the right place. I was completely retired and had all the money I needed, and I'd open it up just for fun. I'd love to have another gym, but I wouldn't try to make money off of it. That's a recommendation I make. Don't.
It's kind of like racing. If you want to make $1 million racing, you start with 2.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Same
exactly.
with
And eventually have $1 million. Well, you
Well,
lost $1 million.
There's one thing I do know. I firmly believe when we leave this life, we leave with 2 things: relationships and experience. One thing I can say about you two: one, I got a great relationship with the 2 of you guys, which is awesome. To be able to roll up to Jerome and say, hey, go hang out at the Chief's house.
Well, you should roll up a little bit more often.
I'm going to try. We're going to be getting up here at least once a quarter,
All
get
right.
some training, and then the other is the experience you guys give us. I mean, I roll into town to vacation with my wife, and I have our anniversary, and we're on top of the firehouse training. You know, doing
Yeah,
all that
they
stuff.
were
You
last
guys,
time.
That to me is an amazing opportunity. I think it's really great to expose the other people that are here to that kind of thing, because we'll never forget this. I'm never going to forget that. In fact, Peterson showed me today pictures of when we were doing the offset down here at the canyon.
Oh yeah,
And
that
I
was
riding
snowed
it,
and.
and he was my subject, and I was surfing the damn litter basket across that. Man, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
one of the greatest things ever.
Everybody else is going to remember that too for the rest of their life.
Yeah, because
It
it
was
froze
pretty
our
impressive.
asses off.
That was a hell of a day.
It
I can't
snowed,
wait to,
it
I can't wait
rained.
to put these guys through that crap.
Huh?
Well, and we look,
I can't wait to put these guys through that
we
crap.
look forward to it because it's, I mean, the stuff that we were able to do today and learn today, right? I mean, life is all about getting out of your comfort zone, right? And learning things that you progress in. Once you stop, you die.
Oh, absolutely.
So it was really excited. I had a great time, and the stuff that.
And this was day one of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, of what
Day one of
typically is,
hundreds.
yeah, is 7 to get you to a point where you're doing some crazy stuff, you know, like Aaron and, you know, surfing a big deflecting offset or something like that. But I mean, you know, that offset was 175 feet across, and from the top to the bottom, it was 150 feet.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
And like,
When I
I
first-
scraped the bottom of that damn thing, came right back up the other side. And the toughest part is trying to pull rope when it's fat and wet, and you're getting your ass kicked by the rain. There's something, but you know, I know we got to get closer to close here, but we ask every single person that comes aboard this show one thing, and I let Floyd ask that question.
So it's kind of a two-part question with one answer, right? It's meant to be one answer. But basically, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life? At the time was life-altering, but ended up being a blessing and the best thing that ever happened
Wow. I could answer that question.
All right, go ahead on yours, because I was going to take.
So I don't really have any much regrets on any of my life. I raised some great kids. I'm enjoying life right now. Got a great wife right now. But the thing that really got me where I'm at right now was another gal that I was dating. She turned out to be, we'll just say, worthless. To not expand on it any further than that. She was a really hard point in my life there for a while, but she got me where I'm at now. I mean, she brought me. She's the reason why I ended up in Jerome, and she's the reason why I ended up meeting the chief here. And the chief is what's made my life great right now. And there's no other way to cut it. He has, and I appreciate him. I love him. But it was her that got me here. But she turned out to be worthless. But other than that, pretty happy with my life.
But out of that situation came where you are now.
That's right.
And when I first saw him, I didn't realize his situation, because it was good at first. But I saw in Kerry, dedication. See, what I often have a hard time finding in people that I hire is dedication. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The commitment to do what they say they're going to do and follow through. And he was hard driven. I can remember on rescues with him, and he'd have gear on, and we're going out, and he's got 2 packs on, and he's humping his ass out ahead, and there's times I'm having to hold him back like the reins on a pack of wild horses. You know what I mean? And he was always like that. He's never been. He doesn't go home sick. He's early for work. He helps me when I don't need. You know what I mean? It's just, and that dedication. I can overlook little things. You know, you don't have to be perfect. But you've got that dedication. You care about people, like I've told other people. His commitment to the human race and to people that I watch. I watch the videos, every contact these guys make, and I'm telling you, he cares about people. And those people mean a lot to me, because I know they're going to do right. You know, that central core. You know.
Now,
I'm with you. I'll
now
throw the
listening
world
to
in
that
half for
though,
my people.
listening to that though, don't think I won't write you a speeding ticket.
Well, you already picked me out for my damn light. So I'm with you. I will tear the world in half for the people that I care about and that work with me and work for me. I just expect them to just do what I ask. That's it. Nothing more.
Yep.
That's why I ask. You have somebody that just does what they're requested to do, what they commit to do. It's amazing how freaking rare that is.
Oh yeah,
There's a big
absolutely.
There's a big difference between doing what you're asked, right, and so to speak paid for, right,
Right.
versus going beyond. Right. We all own businesses. We all, that resonates with us more than you probably know, because it's our goal in life is to find those people, because they're rare.
Well,
Oh, absolutely.
There's a saying that says there's 2 types of people that never amount to anything. Those who can't do what they're told, those who can do nothing but.
Oh yeah, yep. Right.
Right? If you can't think ahead and
Well,
do
think
more,
for yourself.
think for yourself, and take the experience that you have and build upon that, and actually be a self-starter, you're not going to get ahead. I'm sorry, you're just not. And if you're cool with minimum wage, you're just above that, punching a clock for 8 hours a day and going home, God bless you. We need some of those people. I'd much rather have somebody who's willing to go ahead, think about it a little bit. You've been given a role, right? You've given it a specific role. Figure out everything that has to do with that, and do more. Expand upon it. Make it better. Make it to where, like what you said, you don't have to tell Kerry Lee shit. If you woke up sick as hell, and just call him, like, dude, I'm not feeling well.
Oh yeah, he's there.
Is it going to work?
Oh, he'll work.
It's going to just fine.
Yep.
Jerome will not notice anything, and that's what we want. I want to be obsolete. I want whatever section of that is to be obsolete. I'm slowly becoming more and more obsolete in my business, which is awesome. It sounds like you have found that.
Oh yeah, I've got a good crew there. So
what's the best, worst thing that's ever happened to you?
And I've come close to dying many a time. Probably the biggest thing that ever changed, but those weren't life-altering. You just come out of it and you go, wow, I should have died then.
I mean, I hair of my ass that I can't that one.
I mean, I killed a bull elk on a Harley. Okay, how many people survived that accident? Okay, killed it dead.
Was it hunting season? Did you have a tag?
No, didn't have a tag. They didn't bust me. I tried to go back and get the carcass 3 days later after I got out of the hospital, but I couldn't. You know what I mean? Somebody had picked it up because of the rack it had. I wanted so bad to have that mounted and then have a tag made. You know, taken by.
Freaking hit hangers, dude.
I had a road glide and punched that baby, killed him dead on the spot in Cortez, Colorado, and it should have killed me and it didn't. It came close to drowning on a few rescues, but probably one of the biggest life-altering experiences I've had was in a fight with a mental health escapee, and that was in Jerome. We had a subject who had escaped from a mental hospital. Well, there was a holding facility in Cottonwood, so he'd escaped from there. Unbeknownst to us, he had escaped from two other mental health facilities in the eastern United States. Wow. Okay, so there was an ATL put out. It was an early morning. I was working on one of the cars, and the guy that I had as a former sergeant, he was on. Somebody called in, hey, there's this guy dressed like this, and it matched the description just seen on Main Street. So I was in civilian clothes like that, and I had just a firearm on me, because I was just off duty. I was just working on one of the cars. We saw him. The sergeant came up. He was in uniform. I was trying not to get the guy scared. I was in street clothes. I was coming down the sidewalk, going to try to intercept him. This guy takes off like a bullet. He ran across Main Street. You know how that bank goes down the other side? Full tilt. He's running so fast, I have to stop because I know when he blows that thing, it's like jumping off a cliff. I mean, it's a 45-degree angle. I get to the edge, and he's already down in the parking lot below, still running.
Wow.
I'm like, this is crazy. I ain't trying to run that way. You know, I go get my car. It was in front of the PD.
Right across from Mile High, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right across there. You know how steep that is.
Yeah. Well, heck
Boom, I get to the edge. He's in the parking lot, still running like a jackrabbit.
Wow.
So I get the car. I know which way he's running. We put out an ATL, calling some other units. Down in Deception Gulch, which is on the way to the state park, that wash area down there, that gulch. I had a Clarkdale unit get there, and I didn't have my squad car. I didn't have my gun belt, so I didn't have any of my alternate force methods there. So I didn't have a taser, didn't have mace, didn't have anything. So I bummed a taser off one of the guys. So I said, I'm going to go down here. So all I've got is a taser and a firearm. I go down in the gulch. Guess who I find by myself?
This guy.
Nutjob. Okay? He sees me. He looks at me like that scared deer look. I yell at him, freeze. He kind of looks and stops. I yell, taser. I said, stop or I'm going to taser you. I got close enough. He puts his hands up. He's like he's going to comply. I get in there. I sweep him, bring him down. I've got his hands locked on, but I got a taser in one hand. And I go, I don't have my handcuffs, because again, I'm off duty. I should grab a set of handcuffs. I got him pinned down there, and I'm like, shh. So I started calling for somebody else. I had figured there had to be somebody close. I said, hey, need assistance. He heard that and started fighting. So the struggle, he broke through, and again, I have my taser, so I decided to make distance and use the taser on him. I broke distance. I shot him in the back with the taser. Perfect contact. One in the butt cheek and one in the upper arm. Split the belt line. Perfect shot. He screams like a banshee, and it does literally nothing other than make him scream. So I re-engaged him at this point in time and tried a drive stun on him, and he started fighting me. And it was, all I can tell you is I've had my fair share of fights, but I've never fought, I've never put my head in a sack of wildcats. Okay? To describe it, there's no rhyme nor reason the way he fought me. He did not swing and give me a right that I could block. It was a combination of punches, slaps, pokes, And at one point, in the midst of all of it, I'm wearing a Duluth Trading Company canvas shirt. He rips that off my body. He tears a canvas shirt off, and he's shredded.
Wow.
I've got my gun on the right side. He gets in there tight, and I feel his hands get my gun as we're wrestling and fighting. Okay, and I'm whacking him pretty good, and he's just engaged. I don't know what's going on. He gets his hand on my gun, and instantaneously, I kid you not, what ran through my mind is I'm going to kill this guy, and the world is going to judge me because here I am, 240 pounds, and this guy's 150. I'm going to go to prison because somebody's going to say I shouldn't have shot this guy after he's got his hands on my gun. He knows who I am. My badge is there. I've identified myself, and he's got my gun. I kept my hand. I blocked it, shrugged, had a taser in his hand, and I punched him as hard as I possibly could. And I've got a strong right hook. And you know, it stunned him. He went back and he looked at me, and for an instant, I think he thought about re-engaging. I was saying a prayer. I was saying a prayer. I did not want to re-engage this guy because I knew it would end up with somebody dead. He decided to run. I decided not to chase him. Don't you? Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So I decided not to go after him. I let him flee. He didn't kill a family. You know what I mean? I disengaged. It was better to re-engage with multiple people where we might have had a better chance and less of a chance that I was going to kill him. We did successfully apprehend him. 24 hours he sat on a mine shaft. We continued. It took 5 of us to take him down in the end.
Wow.
Okay? 5 people. 4 people, he drugged 4 people into a fence. 150-pound guy. Okay? It was crazy. But in the end, that rang with me and caused, I almost quit. Okay? Because I looked at him and said, oh my God, what if I'd shot this guy? And I've been in situations where I wasn't worried about shooting somebody. Okay? It didn't even ring. I didn't even have to think second about it. You know what I mean? Have a second thought. But in this case, it was like, I kill this guy and I don't know what's going to happen.
How
And
long
so
ago was this?
that was about 8-9 years ago. So, but I managed to get through it. But it cost me mentally. Through the years, I developed, you know, the whole PTSD. I think I have an emotional segment in me that's come to light in the last few years that, you know, I don't like. It's not a mean streak. I just feel I can get sorrowful, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think you can reflect on the outcome before there is an outcome. It sounds like to me that you can see what the potential is in something, and you actually feel remorse for it. You haven't even done it.
well, yeah, that. But you also develop. There's a type of. You can only compartmentalize so much shit.
Yeah.
And I've seen my fair share of shit and dead bodies and stuff through my court, and never had a problem with it. It's just as I approached 60, it started to bug me, and I also dealt with it different when I was younger. You know what I mean? And it's harder as you age. You can't do the same things you want to, so you still try to get out there and do it. But lifting is my release. That's why I still lift. I lift hard and I lift heavy because it allows me to get rid of some of that junk that's in there. You know what I mean?
Off-gas the problems.
Yeah.
There's something about those wiry 150-pound son bitches, man. It's like trying to get a hold of a spider monkey,
Oh, yeah.
and it is not easy. It's like
Yep.
you better kill them before they kill you, basically.
And this guy was certain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I say, you know, it might have turned out differently had he not retreated. You know, I mean, he's gonna go before I am in that situation. You know, I'm not letting somebody take my life. I've got a family to go back to. It ain't happening. You know, I'll get through it. But man, that was a weird one. That was a weird one until you've been in that kind of thing. And I've been in plenty of fights. And a fight, you know, sure, you got your gun on, you got all this stuff on, you get into a fight. But, you know, until somebody like that, and you get down to that level, and this guy just nothing fazed him. You know what I mean? Because again, he had mental illness. You know what I mean? They got him, and you know, I got him out of there in the end. I talked to a psychiatrist. He said the only thing he cares about are cigarettes and his dog. I went, well, let's get his dog. So I called. His mom actually was in there, and she was babysitting the dog, and I got his dog. I had her bring the dog down, and I had my negotiator clip into the dog. We talked. We were going to bring the dog down, get him away from the mine shaft that he was going to plunge into, you know. So we get him close to the fence. We got the dog in the collar. My negotiator's down there, Nicole. The damn dog slips his collar. The dog runs off and runs over to him. I'm like, oh damn, here's everything. You know what I mean? My only chance.
Culvers and smokes.
But then the dog goes up and licks on him, then runs back and jumps back over the fence and comes to us. And he comes running after the dog. So it's like, go, go, go. You know what I mean? That gave us the opportunity, and we took him down. But it was funny. He did. That's all. And I mean, even after we fought him, we hog-tied him, and he wouldn't cooperate. And we're a mile down. You know, and I'm like, we got to carry this guy out. And I said, look, just walk, dude. I'll give you a cigarette when we get to the road. I'll let you talk to your mom and you can have a cigarette. He goes, okay. And he walked out. Didn't have another problem with him.
That's what it was, huh?
Yeah.
See, and there's a motivating factor for everybody.
There is,
There
and for
really
him.
is. There's a motivation for everyone. You just got to find it. Sometimes it takes a long time, or he takes an ass whooping.
Yeah.
But we're all going to take an ass whooping. We're all going to define what our motivations are. And I tell everybody who pays attention, who's watching this, they got to quit jerking off, and they got to start moving forward and start getting their life figured out. Get a morning routine going, get a goal, get a direction, get something that's going to motivate you, and start moving forward. Just get it done. I appreciate you guys taking the time driving out here. Fearless time. Got to be up early in the morning, be swinging from ropes again. Is there any final words you want to give to people?
I just say, just what Aaron said. I mean, you got to find that. I think it's important to find what you really love to do, okay? Because really, is it work then?
No.
If you love what you're doing, is it retiring? I mean, I don't want to give up what I love doing, so retirement would be kind of a negative thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay? I understand people work in a factory, but if you don't, I mean, so find something you love to do, find a way to make money at it, dedicate yourself, and plug away, you know?
And you don't have to be the smartest.
Nope.
You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the sexiest. You just have to outlast every
Well, I'll
other
tell you
bastard
something.
trying the same.
This man told me one time, happiness is a choice.
Well, it really is. And that we're going to end this summit on. I appreciate you guys coming up here. Thank you. And always
Enjoy it. Always enjoy.
Welcome me and my wife to your town. And hang
Oh
out
yeah.
with us.
Well, you're good people. I've known that from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Say the same.
And again, you're one of those people that you surround yourself with successful people, right?
Yep.
You look at the people that have problems, and you look at children that have problems. Typically, what's going on? What are their friends like?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, from my line of work, oftentimes when I see those kids that are having problems, I look at who they're associating with and their problems, or vice versa. You know what I mean? That kid is a problem, and those kids are influenced by him. But generally, it's who you associate with, because oftentimes you're drugged into things. When you're successful people, you know, you're talking about, hey, I did this was successful, I had this, you know what I mean? Yeah. These are the ethics, and you go, wow, that's cool, I'm gonna, so you
start
think,
to draft off for other people's
Yes!
success, and that's why the people I'm around, I mean, my success was kind of there, but then when I started getting around the right people, it just skyrocketed.
oh yes,
You know, and it's because you're picking up ideas, you're picking up habits, you're picking up character traits.
Yep.
And you start to get to the point where you train yourself to become what you want to become because of the people that you're trying to keep up with.
yep,
And if you find yourself at the top of the pile, time to find another pile.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
want to find yourself in the bottom of all the piles you're ever on.
Yep, no, I agree.
All right, guys. Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.